Hi there, creative people. I'm Kelly at Book and Paper Arts, and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to show how I made this field of poppies in an altered book. It was one of my goals for this year to learn to add more painting to my altered books and my art journals. I already do paint in my travel diaries, but that's different because I'm just painting my shoes and my food and whatnot. To actually make a painting, that's something that I was not familiar with, and it was kind of a big step for me. I am really happy at how it is turning out, which is why it's today's video. And if you like altered book arts, journal arts, and mixed media, please subscribe to my channel because I post every Friday. Now, this is in an altered book that's coming together, but obviously a lot of people aren't working in altered books. So throughout this video, I'm going to show a variety of substrates. The important thing is that you use what you got and you make it look like you. For instance, nothing wrong with a piece of white watercolor paper. It will do. I have also prepared this book cover. Okay, this is an old book cover. It's pretty distressed. And I've started it out. I'm going to make this into my canvas. It's going to be a painting, and then I can hang it in my studio. I'm also playing around with this sketchbook. I got this. I like the paper, but I do not like the cover, so I'm doing something about it. So, but let's say you just want to start here. I have taken a piece of text from an old book, and I've just fixed it to this watercolor paper with some masking tape. Now, maybe you don't really want to work on print. That's cool. Like I said, just go to your white substrate. But I love working on text. It adds interest to the eye, layers and texture, mystery, and I always just love having words in my pieces. If you do use an old piece of paper like this, you need to add some gesso. It does several things. First, it will prime your paper so that your paints don't bleed, because with this old paper, there's a very good chance that your ink or your paper will bleed. It's also going to add it's going to add contrast, because this is busy. This is a busy background. By adding the gesso, we're making that a little bit more misty and soft. And now it's going to really let whatever we paint on here have some contrast and pop. I have not made this perfectly perfect. I don't want a white perfect coverage. I want it to be messy and let the words show through. So now I'm going to add my field, the grass. That's the base of the picture. For the flowers, I'm going to be using watercolors. You can, of course, use acrylics or gouache, ink, or whatever you have. But for this base, I'm actually going to use a variety of water solubles. This is a chunky graphite stick, and I think that's by Derwent. Yeah. And this is also by Derwent. It's an Inktense pencil, and this is just a plain old watercolor pencil by Faber-Castell. And I'm just going to make a mess, but really, really thick coverage. Okay. Make it uneven. And then I'm just going to add, no, I'm not yet. Now I'm going to activate this with some water. Make it really messy. Okay. And while I've got that really wet, I'm going to go back in now with my green pencils and add some blades of grass. And it's still being activated by the water, but it's got a looser but cool feel to it. Obviously, this doesn't really look like grass, but it does have a loose organic feel that's a bit more natural. So let's pull that up a little. Yeah, don't make it too symmetrical. And now just move your paper around and let the water and the pigment pool and trickle into different places. Now I'm going to add some poppy heads. I'm going to activate my watercolors with a little spritz here. Normally, watercolor tends to be translucent, but I'm making this color here really, really, really intense because I want it to pop. And I'm using what my cheat sheet tells me is vermilion red and carmine, otherwise known as red and orange, to get a poppy color. I'm just going to give that a little extra mist there for some little extra water there for some slip. Now I'm using a small round head brush, and I'm just going to go in and start putting some shapes. And you want it to be a little bit like a messy C or a V shape, or even a heart shape. I am not thinking at all about where these are going. I just want them to be scattered asymmetrically, sort of at random. And you can make some of them face so that the openings are facing in different directions in your V or C. And add a few little ones down here in the grass. I recommend that you do the ones in the sky first and then add these, because I found out the hard way that it's very easy if you put in your little poppies in the grass first. It's very easy to end up with a handful of poppy buds right there. Okay, so. And then I want to add in a few little buds, and those are going to be green. So I've already got some green mixed up over here. And just make a few little teardrop shapes. I'm going to keep these a little bit lower down, since I'm thinking if they're buds, they're not going to be the highest ones in the page. But I don't garden, so that could be completely something I just made up. Now I'm going to add my stems using just some green that I've mixed up there. I'm going to make sure I've got just a little dab there on the bottom of the cup. like here. And then I'm just going to pull. I am really kind of just making these all go in different directions. I strongly suspect that in real life, the poppies would be facing the same direction, which is wherever the sun is. That's always been my experience with poppies in real life, but I'm going to just pretend that the wind is blowing here, and it's going to make for a prettier page. And then add some stems to your buds. We'll connect those guys. And we'll connect that as well. And now I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight to each of the heads here. Poppy heads. I'm using a Payne's gray. You could, use any kind of a black or slate color that you have. And here I'm just going to pick up a little bit on my brush, a teeny tiny little tip. And I'm going to go in and just to add a little black dot. I'm going to make some of them look a little bit more like a slice so that it's kind of in the center of the bud. And then some others I'm going to put towards the top. So it's very inexact, but it does suggest a little bit of different perspective. Now it's time to finish this page by adding some messy mark making with splatters to give it some oomph. Yes, that is a technical art term. No, it's not. I am going to use some greens and some more red. When I started the flowers, I wanted a lot of intense color, but for this, I want it to be nice and loose, and so it'll move around the page. So I'm adding a little more water. Let's see. So I'm going to take my brush and this watercolor wash mix and load it up really well. And then I'm just going to bounce. Look, like that. Nice and loose, just all over the page. Is it a big splotch? I don't care. I think it looks cool. I have another green here, so we're going to mix up the greens. The first one was more of a grass green. This is more of a leaf green. And I think I like both suggestions here. And be sure and get some in the grass there. I don't like that one, so let's see. Now I'm going to take the red, a couple of different reds there. Get those nice and wet. Load up the brush. And again, we're just going to add some little poppy bits. Now, clearly, this is not how a poppy field looks in nature, but I love it. It makes a beautiful page. And adds interest and texture and fun. And here we go, a boatload of fun and beautiful poppy fields that you can use in so many different ways. Here is the piece of paper that I taped down, and I've now peeled it off, and this would look great. You could use it as a card or in an art journal, you say. The finished altered book layout. This is the altered book cover. I'm going to wire it and hang it. And finally, the messy sketchbook cover, which I love. Really happy with that. Anyway, you get the idea. And if you like the idea, I have a monthly online newsletter that has art journal stuff, altered books, mixed media, and it also has a lot of vintage paper goodness. It has free vintage paper downloads that you can grab and use in your own artwork. I have giveaways, a little bit of fashion, some history, and the occasional pep talk. So please join me. You can sign up for that in the text that is below this video. If you're on a phone, you may have to press some buttons and stuff to find it, or just let me know. Please leave me a comment or a question. I love to compare notes. And until next Friday, get up and go make something.